So Anne got to go to the concert, and Marilla was like, "I told you this wouldn't work out well." And short term, no, it didn't work out well. Miss Barry, Diana's great aunt, was irritated and upset, and she's the rich relative that you don't want to upset because they give money, and they're grumpy, and they're kind of grumpy because they have money instead of friends. And anyway, so Miss Barry was the rich great aunt of Diana, and so Diana and Anne jumped onto the bed, which you can break beds that way. And anyway, they jumped onto the bed. They didn't look before they leave. Ha 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 ha. Mrs. Lynde made that joke, and it's kind of funny. And they upset her, but in the long run, it was good because Anne and Miss Barry became friends, and Miss Barry was usually grumpy. But here she was happy because, she had Anne, and Anne was just entertaining to her and made her happy. So that was a good thing. And I particularly like the spariest spare room bed. That was just a cute turn of phrase. That, it's like, okay, they're friends, and she realizes that Anne had never really been treated like a guest. She was always like this extra person hanging around, and it's hard for her. Life is hard for her. Now, they mentioned Mark Antony's speech in Julius Caesar. So, Julius Caesar dies early on in the play Julius Caesar. It's all about his getting killed. And it actually took place right around this time of year, because Julius Caesar was killed on the Ides of March. Now, Ides is an old Latin term for the middle of the month. So you have the Ides of March, which is March 15th, the middle of March. I'm recording this on the 22nd. It'll be posted on the 23rd. But the Ides of March was March 15th, and Julius Caesar was killed on that day. And Julius Caesar was not quite emperor of Rome. He was running Rome. He was running Rome as part of a triumvirate. So there were three people who were running Rome. And there was Julius Caesar, and I'm just flaking on the other two. Anyway, he was running Rome as part of this triumvirate. And they fought amongst themselves, and Julius Caesar ended up on top. And there were a whole bunch of people who were like, crown yourself emperor, crown yourself king. And Caesar was a family name then. The thing is that Caesar became the term for king, and not just English. Or not just Latin, I guess. We call Caesar, as a king. You talk about somebody as being a Caesar, he's a king. The thing is that this went into other languages. So the German word Kaiser, the German word for king, comes from Caesar. Because when the German people, before Germany was Germany, the Germanic people heard Caesar, and they're like, we have a Caesar, this guy. And then because the C and the K are, the C has a soft and a hard, so it's S or K. The Germans took the K version, and it was Kaiser, because vowels float around. And that went into Russia, and the Russian word for king or emperor was Tsar. And so you have Tsar, Caesar. So Caesar came from Kaiser, Tsar came from Kaiser, came from Caesar. So here you have Julius Caesar, who unified Rome, kind of took it over.
Pompey and
Crassus and Pompey. Crassus and Pompey were the other three in the triumvirate. And they tried to shut Caesar down. They said, here, you go to Gaul. You run Gaul. And Pompey ran Rome and the bit around Rome. The city of Rome, not the whole Roman Empire. And Crassus was down in Alexandria. So here you have the empire roughly split into three parts. And Caesar had Gaul. And then he brought his army west, or east, I guess. He brought his army east. And he crossed the Rubicon. And there was all sorts of chaos, and he ended up taking over everything. And so here you had Caesar running everything, and the Senate was like, you know, we don't really want to be kings. We're a democracy. You know, we're a republic. You know, Rome was a republic, and you know, we're a republic. We want to keep the republic a republic, so we can't have a king. And there were a whole bunch of senators who got together. And they're like, okay, we're going to kill Caesar. And so Caesar was going to go speak before the Roman Senate. And a bunch of senators got together, and they stabbed him, and they stabbed him, and they stabbed him. It was like 40 or 50 of them, and they just stabbed him. And one of them was Caesar's dearest friend, Brutus. And so Brutus has a dear friend of Caesar. And he's like, no, I can't let Caesar ruin Rome. Because in his mind, Rome was the republic, and you can't have this single person ruling over it. And so Brutus killed him. And all of this was memorialized in a play by Shakespeare. And Shakespeare did a few Roman plays, and this was the best known of them. And so here you have the Shakespearean play, and you have, it tells the story of this, and then it tells the story of the aftermath. And the aftermath is when the aftermath is started as Mark Antony gives this speech. And it's one of the greatest Shakespearean speeches. I'll probably do a whole video with it. But it's, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come not to praise Caesar, but to bury him. The evil that men do lives on after them, and the good is oft interred with their bones. So let it be with Caesar. And so the whole speech goes on like that. And it starts out talking about Caesar. And it's like, no, I'm not praising Caesar. Caesar was bad. Caesar deserved to die, even though he gave all this money to the peasants. And, you know, Caesar was bad, and Caesar deserved, even though. And so he works the crowd up into this frenzy. And Cassius is the villain of the play. Not Brutus, but Cassius. There were three characters who were big in the assassination. There was Cassius, there was Brutus, and there was Casca. Casca's kind of a nobody. Cassius was kind of like the ringleader, and he duped Brutus into doing this. And Brutus was like noble Roman, and is like, you're right, gotta save the Republic. And Cassius is like, yeah, we're gonna kill Caesar, and then I'll be Caesar. I'll be king. That was Cassius's plan. And Mark Antony came along and is like, let me speak at the funeral. Cassius is like, no. Because he knew Mark Antony was a great speaker. And Cassius was like, no. And Brutus is like, no, he's a friend. He's a true Roman. I trust him. Yeah, that didn't end well. So Mark Antony gives his speech, gets the crowd in a frenzy. And the crowd becomes a murderous mob. And they chase down Brutus. And they chase down Cassius. They kill another guy because his name is Casca. Just because his name is that. They grab the wrong guy. They're fairly certain they have the... They kill him anyway. They kill Cassius. They kill Casca. And Brutus falls on his sword. because that was the Roman thing to do. The Romans thought, oh, suicide is cool, and it's not. But the Romans were all about, yes, honor, death. And Brutus fell on his sword, saying, okay, yeah, I killed Caesar, and I kind of deserve to die for that. And at the end of the play, Mark Antony pointed to Brutus and said, this is the noblest Roman of them all. Because Brutus was Caesar's friend. Brutus loved Caesar dearly as a friend. And he loved Rome more. And actually, that was part of Brutus's speech. It's not that I loved Caesar less, it's that I loved Rome more. So that was the Mark Antony speech, and that's really kind of cool. They did the singing. Oh, Gilbert Blythe. So once again, Anne is like, no, I will never forgive Gilbert Blythe because he called me carrots. Dude, Anne, let it go. You're not hurting him. You're only hurting yourself. And it almost seems like Gilbert has a crush on Anne now. Perhaps because she's totally enraged with him. Perhaps because even though she's 2 years younger, she's neck and neck with him in knowledge, in schoolwork. So, I don't know. Anyway, she's just hating him. And that's not good for her. And it's probably not good for him.